My roommate begged me to spend summer break helping out at his grandparents' farm. Somehow, I agreed just because he promised there would be a surprise. The first surprise was finding out we had to share one bed for 2 whole weeks. The next was nearly having my hair mistaken for hay by a horse named Maple, while Travis stood there laughing instead of helping me. But the biggest surprise happened beside the creek, and after that, nothing between us stayed the same. But I'm getting ahead of myself. A few days earlier, I had planned to spend summer break exactly the way every exhausted senior should, sleeping until noon, working just enough hours to avoid starvation, and pretending the stack of job applications on my desk wasn't judging me. Then Travis leaned against our dorm room door and asked, "Want to come help at my grandparents' farm for 2 weeks?" I stared at him. Do I look qualified to operate farm equipment? His eyes moved over my wrinkled t-shirt and the cereal bowl balanced on my stomach. "You know how to carry a bucket." "Technically." "Then you're overqualified." That should have been my first warning. Travis had been my roommate for 4 years. He knew I hated mornings, stole his hoodies, and considered instant noodles a complete food group. He also knew I rarely said no when he looked at me like that, calm, patient, and slightly amused, as if he'd already predicted every excuse I was about to make. So 2 days later, I was in his old pickup, controlling the music and intentionally singing every country song wrong. That is not the lyric. Travis kept one hand on the wheel while reaching for the volume knob. I slapped his hand away. "Art evolves. You've ruined 6 songs. You're welcome." He threatened to leave me at a gas station. I reminded him his grandparents supposedly needed help. "Who's going to save the farm without me?" His mouth twitched. I'm starting to think crop failure might be worth it. The drive took us farther from campus than I expected. Cell service disappeared. Buildings gave way to open roads, and every time I asked how much work we were doing, Travis gave suspiciously vague answers. Some fencing, feeding animals, garden stuff. Garden stuff sounds dangerous. Only to the plants. 2 hours later, his grandparents welcomed me like I'd been expected for months. Mrs. Evelyn hugged me before I had, both feet out of the truck. Mr. Henry shook my hand and immediately asked whether I was afraid of chickens. "No," I answered. A chicken screamed somewhere behind the barn. I reconsidered. Everything felt easy, until Mrs. Evelyn led us upstairs, opened the guest room door, and froze. "Oh, right. Travis's old room still has that roof damage." I looked inside. 1 room, 1 dresser, 1 bed. Not 2 twins pushed together. 1 actual full-size bed. Travis went quiet beside me. I looked at the mattress, then at him. 4 years of living together had given me far too much confidence. I grinned and slapped his shoulder. "We've shared a room for 4 years. Sharing a bed for 2 weeks shouldn't be a problem." Travis lifted one eyebrow. "I'm only worried because you kick in your sleep." "I do not." "You kicked me off the couch junior year. That was self-defense." That night, I built a wall of pillows between us. Travis studied it. International border? Visa required. He kicked 1 pillow onto the floor. Application denied. I laughed, turned off the lamp, and told myself nothing had changed. Then the room went quiet. No hallway noise, no buzzing mini fridge, just Travis breathing less than 2 feet away. And for the first time in 4 years, I noticed he smelled like cedar soap and clean laundry. That was weird. I decided to ignore it. Sometime after midnight, I woke up warm. The pillow wall was gone. Travis had rolled closer, 1 heavy leg resting over mine. I should have moved it. Instead, I stayed still, listening to his breathing, and wondering why being trapped under my best friend suddenly felt a little too comfortable. By sunrise, I had convinced myself Travis's leg had ended up on mine by accident. People moved in their sleep. It meant nothing, absolutely nothing. Then he opened one eye, looked down at our tangled legs, and smiled. Comfortable? I shoved his knee away. You crossed an international border without permission. Your border collapsed on its own. Sabotage. Poor construction. 10 minutes later, we were downstairs eating pancakes while Mrs. Evelyn explained our first job, feeding the animals. I straightened in my chair. Perfect. Animals love me. Travis slowly lowered his coffee. Do they know that? Mr. Henry handed us 2 buckets and pointed toward the chicken coop. Start there. The first 30 seconds went well. I opened the gate, scattered feed, and gave Travis a smug look. Natural talent. Then one chicken pecked the side of my shoe. Another jumped at the bucket. Somehow, within seconds, half the flock was chasing me across the yard while Travis stood by the fence recording everything on his phone. Stop filming and help me! I ran in a circle, clutching the bucket to my chest. I need evidence! He zoomed in. For what? For your future custody hearing. I don't have children. Exactly. A rooster flapped directly at my face. I yelled, dropped the bucket, and sprinted behind Travis. He laughed so hard he had to grab the fence. You're a terrible person. I pointed at the birds now peacefully eating from the ground. They sensed weakness. They smelled feed. Same thing. I should have known the chickens were only the beginning. Mr. Henry sent us to the stable next, where Travis introduced me to a chestnut mare named Maple. She's gentle. I approached slowly, holding out my hand like every horse video I'd ever seen had taught me. Maple sniffed my fingers, blinked at me, then grabbed the baseball cap off my head. Travis folded over laughing. She likes you. She committed theft. Maple lifted her head, chewing the brim. That was my favorite hat. You said that about 3 different hats last month. I contain multitudes. When Travis finally got the cap back, it was damp and bent. I stared at it in horror. He brushed hay from the top and placed it backward on my head. Better. You're enjoying this too much. A lot, actually. So I grabbed a fistful of hay and dropped it over his hair. Travis went still. I smiled sweetly. Better? His eyes narrowed. Run. I made it 6 steps. He caught me around the waist from behind, and we crashed, laughing, into a pile of clean hay beside the stall. I twisted, trying to escape, but Travis pinned my wrists above my head with one hand. Apologize. Never. Dylan. Your hair looked boring. His grip shifted from my wrists to my waist as I tried to sit up. Then neither of us moved. His face was closer than I expected. A piece of hay clung near his cheek. I could hear both of us breathing. For one strange second, the joke disappeared. Then I raised an eyebrow. You planning to hold me until fall? The corner of his mouth lifted. I'm considering it. My stomach did something stupid. I laughed too quickly and shoved hay at his chest. Dream bigger. Later, while we swept the stable, Travis stepped behind me and carefully pulled a piece of straw from my hair. His fingers brushed the top of my ear, barely a touch. Still, I forgot what I was saying. That night, when we climbed into bed, I pointed at him. Stay on your side. Travis settled onto his pillow. You're the one who woke up hugging me. I thought you were a pillow. He turned his head slowly. I don't know whether to be insulted or flattered. I switched off the lamp before he could see me smiling. But sometime in the dark, I realized something had changed. Not much, just enough that when his hand rested between us, I noticed exactly how close it was. By the third morning, I had learned 3 important things about farm life. 1. Roosters considered sunrise a personal emergency. 2. Dirt found places on the human body that dirt had no business finding. And 3. Travis looked unfairly good with his sleeves rolled up. I tried not to think about the third one. Mrs. Evelyn handed us gardening gloves after breakfast and pointed toward the vegetable beds. Pull weeds, straighten the stakes, and water everything before lunch. I looked over the rows. How many weeds are we talking? Travis picked up a hoe. All of them. 10 minutes later, I was sitting in the dirt with one hand on my lower back. I've aged 40 years. Travis didn't look up. You're 22. Physically, I sighed. Spiritually, I'm 80 and disappointed in the government. That earned a laugh, which felt like a victory. I moved to the hose while Travis fixed the wooden stakes around the tomatoes. For a while, we worked without arguing. It was suspicious, so I aimed the water at his boots. Travis looked down, then at me. I widened my eyes. Faulty equipment. He turned back to the plants. I smiled and sprayed his shoulder. This time, he slowly set the stake down. Accident? Tragic accident. He reached for the hose. I pulled it behind my back. Don't escalate. You started a war. I started irrigation. 30 seconds later, I was running between garden rows while Travis chased me with the hose. Water hit my back. I yelled, grabbed a tomato basket as a shield, and nearly tripped over a watering can. You're destroying food production! Collateral damage. I turned to spray him again, but he caught me from behind. One arm locked around my waist while the other wrestled the hose from my hand. Surrender. His breath brushed the side of my neck. My laugh came out softer than I intended. Never. Bad answer. He tightened his hold just enough to stop me from escaping. And that was when the joke shifted. Not disappeared, just changed shape. I became very aware of his chest against my back, his hands spread across my stomach. The water still ran beside our shoes, but neither of us moved. Then Travis leaned closer. Last chance. I swallowed. Still no. He released me so suddenly I almost stumbled. Your funeral. Before I could recover, he sprayed me directly in the face. I screamed, then chased him through the garden until both of us were soaked and laughing. The moment was gone. Mostly. Later, we sat on the porch steps with towels around our shoulders. Travis glanced over and reached toward me. Hold still. Why? His thumb wiped a streak of mud from my cheek. You missed a spot. I looked at him. Really looked. His hair was damp. Water still clung near his jaw. For one completely unreasonable second, my eyes dropped to his mouth. Travis noticed. I knew because his hand stopped. So I did the only mature thing available. I dipped 2 fingers into the mud beside my shoe and smeared it across the end of his nose. You missed one too. Then I ran. He chased me halfway around the house, while Mrs. Evelyn shouted that if we ruined her tomatoes, we were both sleeping in the barn. That night, Travis turned off the lamp and stared at me through the dark. You've been quiet. I'm thinking. Dangerous. I threw a pillow at his face. He caught it. What are you thinking about? how to win tomorrow? That was a lie, because what I was really thinking about was the way his arm had felt around my waist, and why part of me had wished he hadn't let go so quickly. The next morning, Mrs. Evelyn handed Travis a grocery list long enough to qualify as light reading and told us to drive into town. I volunteered to push the cart because, according to me, I had strong leadership energy. According to Travis, I had a history of putting 12 unnecessary things in the basket. Both statements were true. Within 5 minutes, I had added spicy chips, gummy worms, 2 kinds of cookies, and a cereal shaped like tiny dinosaurs. Travis removed the cereal. I put it back. He removed the cookies. I put in a larger package. We're buying groceries, not preparing for a sugar-based apocalypse. I leaned over the cart. You don't know what the future holds. He took out the gummy worms. I gasped. Those are emotional support food. You'll survive. Cold. Accurate. We were arguing over a bag of marshmallows when an older woman beside us smiled. You two newlyweds? I didn't hesitate. Yes, he's very controlling with money. Travis looked at me once, then slid an arm around my shoulders. My husband spends our entire budget on candy. My brain stopped working. His hand rested casually against my upper arm while the woman laughed and wished us luck. I should have corrected her. Instead, I stood there with Travis warm against my side, suddenly aware that he smelled like the same cedar soap I had noticed in bed. When she walked away, I cleared my throat. You got into character fast. Travis pushed the cart forward. 4 years of living with you, I have experience. As my husband? He glanced over. As the responsible one. That should have ended the joke. Somehow it didn't. At the checkout, the cashier looked at me and brightened. You're Dylan. I froze. That depends. Do I owe you money? She laughed. Travis talks about you. I turned slowly. Does he? Travis suddenly found the candy display fascinating. The cashier kept scanning our groceries. You're the roommate who likes sweet coffee and hates raisins. Raisins are grapes that gave up. And you sleep through 3 alarms. I pointed at Travis. What else have you told this town? He shrugged. Mostly your crimes. But the cashier smiled. He says you make great pasta. It was such a small thing, stupid almost. Still, it stayed with me. Because in all the stories Travis told about college, apparently I was there often enough for strangers to know what I ate. On the way back, we stopped for coffee, and I fell asleep before we left the edge of town. When I woke, the truck was parked beneath a line of trees. Travis sat beside me, scrolling through his phone with the engine off. Why aren't we moving? He glanced over. You were asleep. You stopped the truck? You looked tired. I checked the clock. How long? 20 minutes. You could have woken me. Travis set his phone down. You looked peaceful. For once, I didn't have a joke ready. I stared through the windshield, then at him. Do you always pay this much attention to me? His fingers tapped once against the steering wheel. I've lived with you for 4 years. That's not an answer. The corner of his mouth lifted. It's hard not to notice you. He started the truck before I could ask what that meant. I spent the rest of the drive pretending to watch the road, but one thought kept circling in my head. Maybe Travis talked about me more than I knew, and maybe I was starting to notice him in ways I hadn't planned. By the 5th day, I had stopped pretending farm work was temporary suffering and started treating it like a very aggressive fitness program. That afternoon, after 3 hours in the garden, my shirt was stuck to my back, my arms ached, and the sun felt personally offended by my existence. I dropped onto the porch step and pointed at Travis. "If I pass out, tell everyone I died bravely." He handed me a bottle of water. "You spent 20 minutes arguing with a tomato plant." It knew what it did. Travis looked toward the tree line. "Want to go to the creek?" I sat up. "Is there shade?" "Yes." "Cold water?" "Yes." "Any chickens?" "Probably not." I was already standing. The walk took less than 15 minutes, and when the trees opened, I forgot to complain. The creek ran clear over smooth stones, wide enough to swim in but shallow near the bank. Travis kicked off his shoes. "Don't dive. It gets deeper towards the middle." I pulled my shirt over my head. "You underestimate my survival instincts." Then I jumped in and immediately yelled because the water was freezing. Travis stayed on the bank laughing. "You look very skilled." I wiped water from my face. "Get in here, coward." He stepped into the creek slowly, completely unbothered by the cold. "Some of us think before acting," I splashed him in the chest. "Some of us are boring." That started the war. Travis sent a wall of water at me. I ducked, came up behind him, and tried to shove him forward. He barely moved. "That was your plan?" "I'm softening the target." Terrifying. I tried again. This time he caught both my wrists and pulled. I lost my footing. 1 second I was laughing, the next I was pressed against him. One hand braced on his shoulder while his arm locked around my waist. The water reached just above our hips. Everything went strangely quiet. Not the creek, not the birds, just us. Travis looked down at me, and for the first time all day, he wasn't smiling. His hand stayed against my side, warm, steady. My fingers tightened slightly on his shoulder. Then his eyes dropped. Not far, just enough. To my mouth. My brain went blank. Travis was my roommate, my best friend, the guy who once ate the last slice of pizza and blamed a delivery driver. There was no reason my heart should be pounding. No reason I should notice how close he was. No reason I should wonder what would happen if neither of us moved. So naturally, I panicked and threw water directly into his face. "You lose." Travis blinked. "Oh, you're dead." I ran. He chased me through the creek while I laughed hard enough to nearly fall twice. The moment disappeared. Mostly. Later, we stretched out on the grassy bank to dry off. I stared at the sky and tried very hard not to look at him. That lasted maybe 10 seconds. His hair was still wet. Water traced slowly down the side of his neck. I looked away, then looked back. "You know I can see you," Travis murmured. "I'm observing." "What?" "Poor posture." He laughed, and I focused very intensely on the clouds. That night, we climbed in the bed without rebuilding the pillow wall. Our shoulders touched under the blanket. Neither of us moved away. I told myself it was because the room was small, but lying there in the dark, all I could think about was his hand around my waist, and the way he had looked at me before I ruined the moment. The next morning, I woke to Travis quietly opening the closet like a man trying to rob his own grandparents. I pushed myself up on one elbow, hair in my eyes. Should I call the police, or is this a family crime? He turned around, holding 2 fishing rods. Neither. I'm rescuing these from a boring life. I looked at the rods, then at him. Are we skipping work? Temporarily. Do your grandparents know? No. I was out of bed before he finished answering. 20 minutes later, we were sneaking across the back field with a picnic basket, 2 folding chairs, and the kind of confidence usually seen right before a bad decision. The pond sat beyond the pasture, quiet and shaded, with an old wooden dock stretching over the water. I picked up a rod like I had been doing it my entire life. Prepare to be embarrassed. Travis opened the tackle box. By what? Natural talent. 10 minutes later, my line was wrapped around a tree branch. Travis looked up. Impressive. Wind interference. There is no wind. Then sabotage. He climbs onto the lower branch to untangle it, while I stood underneath, offering directions. Left. I know. No, my left. You've turned around 3 times. I'm providing emotional support. Somehow, that did not help. An hour later, I had caught nothing. Travis reeled in 1 tiny fish, and I immediately pointed at it. We did it! He glanced over. We? I created a positive environment. Travis carefully removed the hook and released the fish. Your contribution was losing 2 worms. They escaped. Into the water. Freedom is important. After that, he spread a blanket beneath a tree and opened the picnic basket. Sandwiches, fruit, lemonade, and the cinnamon cookies I always bought near campus. I held one up. You packed these? He stretched out on the blanket. Maybe. You remembered. You mention them every time we pass that bakery. Something warm settled behind my ribs. I covered it with a joke. So, this isn't fishing, this is organized truancy. Exactly. We ate, talked about freshman year, and argued over which one of us had been the worst roommate. Travis claimed I had been unbearable from day one. You sang while unpacking. Music builds community. The entire hallway complained. Jealousy. He laughed. Then the conversation drifted toward graduation. I told him about the job application 6 hours away. Travis went quiet. Not dramatic, just still. You never mentioned that. I picked at the edge of the blanket. It's not official. But you want it? Maybe. He nodded and looked toward the pond. That silence bothered me more than it should have. Would you miss me? Travis smirked. I'd miss having someone eat all my food. Be serious. His expression softened. Yeah. Just one word, but it landed differently. We lay back after lunch, shoulder to shoulder. Without thinking, I rested my head against him. Travis didn't move away. Our hands rested between us, and eventually our little fingers touched. Neither of us pulled back. I closed my eyes, pretending the sun made me sleepy. Then Travis spoke so quietly, I almost missed it. I wish these 2 weeks were longer. I heard every word. But I kept my eyes closed, because I wasn't sure what scared me more, asking what he meant, or realizing I already knew. By the 7th morning, sharing a bed with Travis had gone from inconvenient to suspiciously normal. I woke up warm, comfortable, and using something much firmer than a pillow. When I opened my eyes, my cheek was resting on Travis's chest, one arm wrapped around his waist, and both our legs tangled under the blanket. Travis was already awake, scrolling through his phone with one hand like this happened every day. I lifted my head. This situation requires an explanation. He glanced down at me. Agreed. Why didn't you move? I wanted to see how long it took you to notice. I immediately rolled away, forgot where the edge was, and nearly fell off the bed. Travis caught my wrist and pulled me back. I landed facing him, much closer than planned. His hand stayed around my wrist. For one strange second, neither of us joked. I could see a tiny scar beneath his chin I'd somehow missed in 4 years. You can let go now, I murmured. His thumb shifted against my skin. You sure? My brain stopped working. Probably. Travis released me and sat up. Strong answer. After breakfast, Mr. Henry sent us to repair a section of fence near the pasture. I carried the boards while Travis handled the hammer, mostly because he claimed I had unsafe energy around tools. I built a chair once. He lined up a plank. You assembled it backward. It had personality. By noon, we had fixed half the fence and drawn several completely unnecessary faces on the inside boards where Mr. Henry wouldn't see. I was sketching hair onto one that looked suspiciously like Travis when a splinter slid into my finger. Ow! Travis dropped the hammer immediately. Let me see. It's tiny. You're making the face. What face? The one where you pretend pain is a personal betrayal. He took my hand and pulled a small pair of tweezers from the toolbox. I watched him bend over my finger, focused like he was performing surgery instead of removing a splinter. If I don't survive, delete my search history. I'm reading it first. Monster. The splinter came free. Travis brushed his thumb slowly across my palm. Once. Maybe by accident. Maybe not. Either way, I felt it for the rest of the afternoon. Then my phone buzzed. An email. Final interview. The job 6 hours away. That's good, Travis offered after reading my face. Yeah, I should have sounded happier. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. A minute later, he picked up the hammer and changed the subject. That night, we lay in the dark with more space between us than usual. I stared at the ceiling. If I move, Travis went still. We'll still talk every day, right? He took a second too long. I hope so. I turned my head. I didn't ask what you hope. Silence. Then he faced me. Yeah. His voice was quiet. I want that. I should have felt better. Instead, I realized wanting something and keeping it were not the same thing. By late afternoon, the heat had turned the whole farm into an oven. Travis and I had spent hours hauling feed and fixing the last section of fence, and by the time Mr. Henry waved us off, my shirt was stuck to my back. I dropped the hammer into the toolbox. If I have to touch one more fence post, I'm filing a complaint. Travis wiped his forehead with his sleeve. Against wood? Against agriculture. He looked toward the trees. Creek? 5 minutes later, we were already walking. The water felt perfect after the heat, and for a while we went back to being idiots, splashing, shoving, trying to pull each other under. I swam toward the deeper section, turned to say something, and pain suddenly knotted through my calf. Sharp, hard. My leg locked. Trav! Water slipped into my mouth. I tried to stand, but the bottom dropped just enough that my toes couldn't reach. Travis watched me struggle and actually laughed. Very convincing. I tried to answer. Another cramp dragged my leg down. My head slipped under. For a few seconds, all I could hear was water. I pushed upward, missed the surface, and panic hit fast. Then an arm locked around my chest. Travis hauled me up, my name breaking out of him like it hurt. By the time he got me to the bank, I could breathe normally again. My chest still burned, but the cramp was already easing. I was shaken, soaked, and embarrassed, but otherwise fine. He dropped to his knees in front of me. "Look at me." I looked. His face was pale, too serious. And because I was still annoyed he hadn't believed me, I made the worst decision possible. I closed my eyes and let my head fall sideways. "Dylan?" His hands tightened on my shoulders. I stayed still. "Dylan." He shook me. No response. I planned to wait 2 seconds, maybe 3. Then his voice cracked. "Don't do this." The joke stopped being funny. I started to open my eyes, but Travis tilted my head back, pinched my nose, and sealed his mouth over mine. Warm breath crossed my lips before I had time to stop the joke. My eyes flew open. Travis froze. We stared at each other, inches apart. Then he pulled me into his arms so hard I nearly tipped backward. "I thought I lost you." His whole body was shaking. "You disappeared and I waited because I thought you were messing around." I wrapped my arms around him. "I'm sorry." He buried his face against my shoulder. "That was stupid." "I know." "When?" He finally looked up. His eyes were wet. I brushed my thumb beneath one of them. "I'm really sorry." Travis caught my wrist. "You should be punished." I managed a weak smile. "Dishes for a week? Not enough. Laundry? No." "Then what?" He kissed me. Not rescue, not panic. A real kiss. I went completely still, but I didn't pull away. When he stepped back, his expression changed instantly. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. Why did you?" He looked at me for a long moment. Then everything in his face softened. "Because I love you." The world went quiet. Travis laughed once, nervous now. "I was going to tell you on the last day. I didn't want to ruin this if you didn't feel the same." I stared at him. Then I thought about the bed, the pond, the way I hated imagining life 6 hours away. "I kept telling myself we were just close," I admitted, "because losing my best friend sounded worse than wanting more." Travis blinked. "Dylan." I smiled. "We're both idiots." He laughed. "That part I believe." I touched his shirt. "So this was the surprise?" "Not exactly. I planned to wait." Terrible plan. Then I pulled him back and kissed him again, slower this time, deeper, with no panic between us. When we finally separated, Travis rested his forehead against mine. "Still think I deserve punishment?" I whispered. He smiled. "Definitely." And for the first time all summer, I had no idea what happened next. But I knew I wanted it to happen with him. Dinner should not have been difficult. We had eaten across from each other for 4 years. We had shared pizza at 2 in the morning, survived cafeteria food, and once spent an entire week eating cereal because neither of us remembered to grocery shop. But apparently, kissing your roommate twice beside a creek turned mashed potatoes into an advanced social challenge. Mrs. Evelyn handed me a bowl of green beans. "You two are quiet tonight." "We're tired," I answered too fast. Very tired, Travis added at the exact same time. We looked at each other, then away. Mr. Henry raised an eyebrow. Did the creek wear you out? I nearly inhaled a piece of bread. Travis immediately passed me water. Careful. I'm fine. My voice cracked. Great, completely normal. Nothing suspicious here. Mrs. Evelyn watched us for a second longer before returning to her plate. Under the table, Travis's knee touched mine. I expected him to move. He didn't. Neither did I. That tiny point of contact somehow felt more dangerous than the kiss. Mostly because his grandparents were sitting 3 feet away discussing tomato prices while my brain replayed the way he had said, "Because I love you, Mr." Henry asked me something. I nodded confidently. Absolutely. Everyone went quiet. I asked if you wanted more gravy. That too. Travis lowered his head, hiding a smile. I kicked his ankle. He calmly reached beneath the table and caught my knee. My entire body locked. Above the table, he kept eating like nothing happened. Under it, his hand stayed there, warm, steady. I stared at him. He lifted one eyebrow. I tried pulling my leg back. His fingers loosened, but not before sliding once across my jeans. Mrs. Evelyn pointed her fork at me. Are you hot? Very. Travis coughed into his napkin. After dinner, we volunteered to wash dishes, mostly because standing side by side felt safer than making eye contact across a table. It wasn't. Every time I handed Travis a plate, our fingers touched. The first time could have been accidental. The 5th definitely wasn't. You're doing that on purpose, I whispered. He dried the same plate for far too long. Doing what? Touching my hand. I'm taking dishes. You took one plate for 10 seconds. I'm thorough. I glanced toward the living room. You kissed me twice today. Once. Twice. The first was CPR. Our mouths touched. Travis leaned closer. Do you want it to count? Before I could answer, footsteps entered the kitchen. We jumped apart so quickly, I splashed water across the counter. Mrs. Evelyn stopped in the doorway. Her eyes moved from me to Travis, then to the suspicious amount of space between us. Am I interrupting? No, we answered together. She smiled slowly. Interesting. Upstairs, I closed the bedroom door and leaned against it. Your grandmother knows. Travis sat on the edge of the bed. She doesn't. She looked at us like she was solving a murder. She always looks like that. Then we both looked at the bed. Yesterday, it had been just a bed. Tonight, every inch suddenly meant something. I climbed in first. We sleep normally. Normally meaning you steal the blanket? That's tradition. The lights went out. We faced opposite directions for maybe a minute, then both rolled over. Hi, I whispered. Hi. Travis placed his hand between us. I looked at it, then slid my fingers into his. He squeezed gently. If I hug you tonight, I murmured, don't pretend I mistook you for a pillow. His quiet laugh warmed the dark. Deal. And when I moved closer, Travis opened his arms like he had been, waiting. I woke up with my face pressed against Travis's chest and one of his arms around my waist. For once, I didn't panic. I didn't blame the mattress, gravity, or some mysterious sleep disorder. I just stayed there, listening to his heartbeat and wondering how something that had felt impossible yesterday already felt strangely normal. Travis opened one eye. "You're staring." "I'm studying." "What?" "Whether becoming my boyfriend damaged your face." He smiled. "Results?" "Inconclusive." Then he leaned down and kissed my forehead. I froze. "No." Travis blinked. "No?" "I'm not emotionally prepared for sweet boyfriend behavior before coffee." "I can take it back." "Absolutely not." I pulled the blanket higher. Transaction completed. At breakfast, Mr. Henry announced the fence was finished, the garden was under control, and all the heavy work was done. "You boys can enjoy the rest of your trip." I slowly lowered my fork. "Are you saying we're free?" "You've been here 9 days, not 9 years." Time moves differently under forced labor. Mrs. Evelyn laughed while Travis nudged my foot beneath the table. After breakfast, he pulled me onto the porch. "I have a plan." I narrowed my eyes. "Last time you had a plan, I ended up with a boyfriend." "You complaining?" "I'm checking the risk level." Travis rested his elbows on the railing. "There's a hidden campsite deep in the woods about 2 hours from here. A creek runs right beside it. No crowds. Good place to camp." "Camp?" "One night. No bed? Tent. Wi-Fi? None." I put a hand over my heart. "You're asking me to return to the Stone Age." "Trust me, you'll like it." I looked at him. That calm confidence was unfair. "Fine, but if a bear eats me, I'm haunting you." "Deal." We drove into town for supplies, which mostly meant Travis bought actual food while I filled the cart with chips, cookies, candy, and emergency marshmallows. He removed one bag, I put in 2. We're camping one night. Disasters don't follow schedules. What disaster? Hunger. After shopping, we got ice cream. Travis ordered vanilla because apparently he had no imagination. "Your flavor has 3 colors," he pointed out. "That's called ambition." A little ice cream landed near my mouth. Travis wiped it away with his thumb. The gesture was so soft, I forgot my joke. So I kissed him quickly and kept eating. He stared. "What was that?" "Cleaning fee." We ended up seeing a stupid comedy at the small theater downtown. Halfway through, my head rested on his shoulder and his hand found mine between the seats. I barely remembered the movie. By the time we stepped outside, the sky was turning gold. Travis squeezed my fingers. Not a bad first date. I pretended to consider it. Ice cream, movie, hand-holding. You paid. Score? 7. 7? You lost points for vanilla. He shook his head. I leaned into his shoulder. Maybe the second date in the woods will be more interesting. His smile changed just slightly. I'm counting on it. We got back late and crept inside like burglars, only to freeze when the stairlight came on. Mrs. Evelyn appeared in her robe. "I left dinner in the kitchen." My brain panicked before the rest of me could catch up. "We were just walking." She looked at the grocery bags. "Inside?" Travis closed his eyes. She laughed. "Eat, then sleep." An hour later, I was curled against Travis again. Our camping gear waited by the door. "That place really special?" I whispered. "Yeah." His fingers moved slowly through my hair. "I've never taken anyone there." I lifted my head. "Anyone?" Travis kissed my temple. "You're the first." And suddenly, The trip stopped feeling like just camping. By 8 the next morning, Travis had packed the truck like we were crossing a continent instead of spending one night in the woods. Tent, sleeping bags, cooler, cooking gear. Meanwhile, I held up my portable charger with the confidence of a man unveiling military technology. "Don't worry, I'm prepared." Travis started the engine. "Prepared for what?" I raised my phone. 2 downloaded movies. That isn't survival. It is when there's no Wi-Fi. 15 minutes later, my signal disappeared. I held the phone near the window. "Temporary issue. Dylan. I'm checking atmospheric conditions." The paved road turned to gravel, then into something that barely deserved the word road. The truck bounced through another hole, and my head nearly hit the window. This is not a road. This is a collection of bad decisions. Travis laughed. "We're close." "You've said that 4 times. Trust me." His hand rested briefly on my knee. "You'll like it." He was right. Just after 10, we left the truck and followed a narrow trail until the trees opened around a clear creek, a wide grassy bank, and a small waterfall farther upstream. No cars, no tents, no people. I stood there quietly. Travis crossed his arms. "Well, it looks fake. That means good? Movie good." He smiled, pleased with himself. "This is my secret place. Hardly anyone knows about it." I looked around. "So this is actually a 24-hour survival show?" Travis nodded thoughtfully. "Great title. Surviving the Wilderness with My Boyfriend." Don't underestimate me. I've watched over 100 survival videos. 20 minutes later, Travis returned with firewood and found me standing exactly where he had left me, hugging a collapsed tent wrapped around one leg. "Don't laugh." "I'm not." "Your face is." He set down the wood. "Expert?" "The videos were edited. It's all propaganda." With Travis helping, the tent finally became a structure instead of fabric-based chaos. We ate the lunch Mrs. Evelyn packed, and Travis looked at my abandoned tent instructions. Good thing we brought food. Otherwise, we might have starved before shelter. I lifted my emergency chips. Strategic planning. Afterward, he took me deeper into the woods. I expected jokes. Instead, Travis knew animal tracks, safe plants, changing weather, and which direction the trail curved before we reached it. "Why is this attractive?" I muttered. He glanced over. "Becoming attractive? Don't get confident." The waterfall was even better up close. I asked for 1 photo, then rejected 27. "My hair looks wrong." "Your hair always looks like that." "Take another." Eventually, we set the timer and took 1 together. At the last second, Travis wrapped an arm around my waist. The picture caught us looking at each other instead of the camera. On the way back, I reached for a bright red mushroom. Travis grabbed my collar. "No." "It looks edible." "That is not evidence." "It has confidence." "So does poison." By late afternoon, I was sweaty, tired, and deeply offended by nature. "Where do I shower?" Travis pointed toward the creek. "Natural bathroom." I narrowed my eyes. "You sure?" "I've done it dozens of times." That somehow made it less trustworthy. Still, the cold water felt perfect. A few minutes later, Travis moved close, slid both arms around my waist, and pulled me against him. "What are you doing?" "Holding my boyfriend." "In a creek? Illegal?" I opened my mouth. Then he kissed me. Slow, warm, long enough that I forgot every complaint from the hike. When he drew me closer, I pushed lightly against his shoulder. suddenly too aware of how alone we were. We should finish before dinner burns. Travis looked toward the empty fire pit. We haven't started dinner. Exactly. Travis laughed, but the look in his eyes followed me all the way back to camp. By then, the sun had started sinking behind the trees, and the air smelled like cold water and wood smoke. Travis crouched beside the fire pit and started arranging the kindling while I unpacked the food. Watching him work, I had the strange feeling that our second date was only beginning, and that whatever happened after dark might change the way I remembered this place forever. We made dinner over the fire, which mostly meant Travis handled the grill while I tried to roast 6 marshmallows on 1 stick. That's not going to work, he turned the chicken. You lack vision. 3 seconds later, the entire thing caught fire. Save it! Drop it! I can fix this. Dylan, it's charcoal. I blew on it, took 1 bite, and nodded thoughtfully. Crunchy. Travis stared at me. You're impossible. And yet, loved. That shut him up for exactly 2 seconds. After dinner, we sat beside the fire while he told me he used to come here whenever life felt too loud. Family problems, school, decisions he didn't know how to make. I looked toward the creek. So this place actually matters. Travis rested his shoulder against mine. Yeah. And you brought me. His fingers found mine. Yeah. That meant more than I knew how to joke about. Later, inside the tent, I zipped the flap closed and listened to something move outside. We're safe, right? Travis settled into his sleeping bag. From animals? And ghosts. He considered it. Animals, yes. Ghosts? No promises. I threw a rolled-up shirt at his face. You're terrible. We started one of the movies I had downloaded, but neither of us followed it. I kept remembering the creek. Travis kept catching me looking. Finally, he turned his head. What are you thinking about? Nothing. Your face is red. The sleeping bag is warm. Dylan. I looked at him. He smiled, moved closer, and kissed me. This time there was no panic, no accident, no reason to stop except choice. Travis pulled back just enough to study me. Still okay? I nodded. Yeah. Sure? I took his hand. I'm sure. The movie kept playing, forgotten. We kissed again, slower. Every touch came with space to answer. Every pause felt like a question. Neither of us rushed. After 4 years of almost knowing, we finally let ourselves be close without pretending it was just friendship. Much later, I fell asleep with my head against his chest and his arm around me. When I woke, pale sunlight filled the tent. Travis was still asleep. I touched the tip of his nose. His eyes opened. Morning, baby. I immediately frowned. Absolutely not. You hate it? Deeply. A pause. Say it again. He laughed. Morning, baby. I hid my face against him. You're so cheesy. Breakfast was emergency chips because we had underestimated how hungry we would be. I held up the bag. See? Strategic planning. Travis stole a handful. One successful decision. I have many. Name one. I looked at him. Loving you. His expression softened. That was smooth. Don't make it weird. We packed up, cleaned the site, and stood beside the creek one last time. "This is my secret base now," I announced. Travis wrapped an arm around my waist. "Only if you come with me." I smiled. Obviously, who else is going to build the tent? On the drive back, I watched the forest disappear behind us and realized something had changed. That place had been Travis's secret for years. Now it held our first night together. And somehow, that made it feel like the beginning of something neither of us wanted to leave behind. When we got back to the farm, Mrs. Evelyn was watering flowers, and Mr. Henry was repairing something beside the barn. Travis climbed out first. I followed, carrying a backpack, 2 empty snack bags, and the confidence of someone who had survived the wilderness without Wi-Fi. "How was it?" Mrs. Evelyn looked between us. "Great," I answered. "We hiked, saw the waterfall, cooked dinner, watched a movie." "Just that?" Her smile made me suspicious. Travis picked up the cooler. "Just that." Over the next 2 days, we helped with smaller jobs even though Mr. Henry insisted we were officially off duty. Travis used every opportunity to kiss me when no one was looking. Behind the barn, between rows in the garden, once inside the storage shed, right after I proved he had counted a crate wrong. "You're using romance to win arguments," I whispered. "Effective, isn't it?" He leaned in again. Mrs. Evelyn's voice came from outside. "You boys in there?" I shoved Travis backward. He crashed into an empty box. She stepped inside and looked at him on the floor. "What happened?" "The box attacked him." Her eyes moved slowly to me. "Aggressive box?" "Very." She nodded like this was completely reasonable and walked away. I pointed after her. "She knows." Travis stood up. "She doesn't." She absolutely did. The final morning arrived too quickly. Our bags sat by the door while Mr. Henry filled the truck with apples, peaches, vegetables, jars of jam, and enough food to survive another semester. I stared at the truck bed. Are we going back to college or opening a farmer's market? Mrs. Evelyn handed me another container. "Cookies for the road. It's only a few hours. Then eat slowly." Before we left, I hugged them both. "Thank you. Seriously, this was better than I expected." Mr. Henry clapped Travis on the shoulder. "Come back when you can." Then he looked at me. "Both of you." Mrs. Evelyn smiled. "Drive safely. Study hard." She paused. "And be happy together." Travis and I froze. "Grandma," she laughed. "Live long enough and you learn what people think they're hiding." I turned to Travis. "I told you." Mr. Henry folded his arms. "You two were about as subtle as fireworks in a barn." "When did you know?" Mrs. Evelyn considered it. "I started wondering after the creek." "I was certain after you came back from town." Her eyebrow lifted. "After camping, I stopped asking questions." I covered my face. Travis suddenly found the truck very interesting. Then Mrs. Evelyn glanced at Travis. "Although there is something Dylan probably doesn't know." Travis immediately looked up. "Grandma!" I lowered my hands. "What don't I know?" She smiled. "Your roommate called us almost a month before the trip." I turned toward him. "A month?" Travis suddenly became very interested in the truck tires. Mrs. Evelyn continued. "He asked whether you could stay, made sure we had space for you, and wanted to know what kind of food you liked." "Grandma," Travis repeated, more helplessly this time. "Your grandfather did need help," she added, but not nearly as much as Travis made it sound. I stared at him. "You exaggerated the farm emergency?" Travis rubbed the back of his neck. "A little." "How little?" Mr. Henry held 2 fingers barely apart. According to him, this much. Then he spread both arms. According to reality, about this much. I pointed at Travis. You planned the whole trip? Not the whole thing. The fishing? Yes. The picnic? Yes. The camping trip? Obviously. The cinnamon cookies? Travis looked away. Maybe. I folded my arms. Why? For once, he didn't joke. His eyes met mine. Because I knew about the job 6 hours away. I thought this might be the last summer we got this much time together. The humor left my face. Travis stepped closer. I didn't plan for you to feel anything. I just wanted 2 weeks with my best friend before everything changed. Mrs. Evelyn quietly took Mr. Henry's arm and led him toward the porch. I watched them go, then looked back at Travis. So the 1-bed situation was part of the plan too? His eyes widened. No. Shame. Travis laughed. You're impossible. I took his hand. And yet you planned an entire summer around me. 2 weeks, he corrected. Very different. Sure. We left with everyone laughing. 10 minutes down the road, I pointed at him. See? I was right. You were right. Louder. Travis sighed. You were right. I smiled and took his hand between the seats. Later, when we returned to our dorm room, everything looked exactly the same. 2 desks, 2 beds, 4 years of our lives packed into one familiar space. I stared at the distance between the mattresses. Something's wrong. Travis dropped his bag. What? The beds are too far apart. That night, I carried my pillow to his side. We shared 1 bed for 2 weeks, I reminded him. 1 more night shouldn't be a problem. Travis smiled. That sounds familiar. I climbed in beside him. This time, I know what I'm saying. Months later, we graduated. I accepted the job. Travis found work close enough that neither of us had to give up the future we wanted. We stopped making plans around the fear of losing each other and started making them together. Travis had planned the invitation, the fishing trip, the picnic, and the secret place in the woods. He had planned the town, the fishing trip, and the secret place in the woods. What he had not planned was falling into the creek, kissing me on the grass, or hearing me say I loved him back. Maybe the best plans are not the ones that happen perfectly. Maybe they just bring you close enough to recognize the person who has already become home.